If you have ever wondered why the left seems to hate the truth, America, and freedom of speech, stick around. Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, many have been digging deeper and deeper into finding out why this ideology that is promoted on the left seems to be okay with everything from political terrorism and even political violence to defend this strange ideology that will not and cannot seem to understand reality. Let's start with truth in general, not the silly things that you hear about my truth, your truth, so on and so forth, but the truth. Those that embrace biological reality and actual truth have become complete enemies of those on the other side of the ideological fence. The first thing you have to understand is that the left truly believes that they are a force of goodness, that they're looking toward progressing humanity, and anyone that stands in the way of what they are progressing is automatically the enemy. And when there's enemies in this type of a situation, they cannot be heard, they cannot be listened to, they cannot be reasoned with, they must be silenced. Let's talk just for a minute about why this is happening. In a very general sense, the left derives most of their identity from being what they call progressive. They believe it is forward-thinking, they believe it's liberating, they believe it's good, and they believe conservatism to be oppressive and evil. This creates a problem psychologically for them that many don't seem to understand, because what happens is, as they gain more ground with their ideology, and if you project this idea forward, what ends up happening is they believe they will come to a utopia. Here's one of the problems with that idea, because if they were to ever actually make that happen, which they cannot because the goalpost always moves, would be that once these things have been accomplished, once this culture war has been won, they would then switch to conserving those changes. But this is contradictory to their beliefs that conservatism is evil. So by definition, they can never be satisfied. Nothing will ever be enough. The battle is never over. There always has to be yet another oppressive cultural issue that needs to be fought against. But then it gets even deeper, because once they realize that most of the battles have been won, that people have equal opportunities, that no one is being discriminated against at the levels that they believe that they once were, then they have to begin looking outside of reality for new issues to fight against. This is where we run into the problem of denying biological reality and denying objective truth. If we back up to 2008, we'll see that Barack Obama was elected. You would think that that would be the final nail in the coffin for people believing that certain people of different backgrounds could never get much further than a certain milestone in their careers and politically. But now you have a black man who is running and in charge of the most powerful country in the entire world. You would think that would be enough. But it can't be enough for this ideology. Now they have to revert to the idea that it doesn't matter that you elected him, because the very culture and the very nation in which he was elected is based on original racist policies. So if we are a country of systemic racism and that's what we're based on, this is then where the rise of critical race theory and critical theory in general makes its way to the surface. Now there cannot be equality of opportunity, there must be equity, and there must be equality of outcome. As you can see, this is just the goalpost being moved yet again. All this comes back to the idea that free speech in and of itself cannot be permitted by the left, because free speech means that free ideas that are not the same as theirs will be able to get an open forum. And if you give an open forum to someone you not only vehemently disagree with, but you would rather see silenced or even, let's just say, removed than listened to, then this will never happen. So you cannot have free speech. You must have controlled speech, controlled language. And the left's use of words like Nazi and fascist are used against people that they simply disagree with. So they will use the speech of their opponents as justification for violence. They truly believe that their forward thinking and their progressive ideology cannot be constrained by the bounds of biological reality or any other kind of absolute objective reality. So by definition, freedom of speech is antithetical to their ideology. They labeled Charlie Kirk a racist, a bigot, a fascist, a misogynist, even though he was none of those things. But if your liberal ideology can only exist through coercion and forced indoctrination, then the truth is now offensive, and all truth speakers must be silenced. So what do you think? Put it in the comment section.